Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the webinar on Constitution and the Youth of India. It's part of the series initiated for the alumni community. Right? Our goal is to create a platform for continued learning and connection within our university community. So, as we are preparing for celebrating our 74th Republic Day on 26th January, right, 2024. So we thought it would be a good time to actually see how a lot of our alumni are working in this area on constitution, constitutional values, working with youth actually. A lot of our alumni have been themselves youth, right, and working with other youth. I'm Dr. Asim Siddiqui. I am faculty at School of Development in Azim Premji University, and I have been myself working on this area for now I can say 15 years. I started it in 2008-9 when I was part of a campaign that we did at that time called Jagore for increasing youth participation in electoral democracy. And 15 years later, we are again in a general election cycle. So again, it's important to talk about democracy, elections, the constitution, and how our youth is involved in it. So I have, of course, seen it over the past 15 years myself, but we would be listening to a lot of our alumni on this. I know actually that many alumni work in this area. Right now, we have got three of them, Komal, Nilansh, and Sushant with us. They will also introduce themselves and their work in some detail. But I know there are many more who are working in this area. So actually, this webinar is also, in a way, initiation of bringing together alumni, faculty, and other people associated with the Z. Premji Foundation and the university to actually see how we are all working in this area. Can we come together? We can form a collective, collaborate, learn from each other, right? So this is the first kind of attempt in that direction. So after this webinar, of course, we will be engaging with a lot of questions that you have already sent to us or you will be sending during this webinar. But please get in touch with us. That is very, very important. We will, after this webinar, create more kind of conversations on this topic. Let's go a little more into the details of who are the youth. Are the youth really interested in the constitution and democracy these days, or are they detached from it? What is the experience of our alumni? So the format of this webinar is we will start with each of our three alumni sharing their own personal journeys into how they actually got interested in the constitution and actually working on it themselves. And then we will also ask them what kind of tools and activities and ways in which they are able to reach out to youth. Because again, a lot of questions that came our way was, okay, can you tell us if the youth are not really engaged or interested, how do we get them interested in it? How do we uh, make it exciting that, yeah, constitution and constitutional provisions are very relevant for the current young generation. So all of this work is happening, right? And so we will ask our alumni in more detail, and I will also pitch in wherever I see that, yeah, I have been also working on this for a while. So it would be nice to have this more like a conversation. Many of you are joining us through YouTube, so please feel free to leave your comments there, and we will try to pick up those questions. So let me start with Komal. Komal is our alumni from MA Education 21 batch, right? So she will also introduce herself and her work, and how did she got interested in this, her own personal journey. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Asim. I think I should take a moment to thank Azim Premji University and, of course, you all to give me this opportunity to talk and share my experiences here. So, yeah, my name is Komal and I am from Maharashtra. Currently, I'm working as a resource person in Azim Premji Foundation. So, foundation works on capacity building of government school teachers as well as Anganwadi workers. Since last year, we are also working on constitutional values with youth. If I share my journey in a brief, I think I should share my journey, especially of getting higher education and reaching this stage, which is uh, which is what inspired me to work in social sector and especially education. So it was more of like, it was more challenging, and it was of course a bit struggling, as like it's not in my case. I think many individuals go through this phase and they also face this journey. Being a girl, being from marginalized community, it wasn't that easy to get this mainstream, and especially going out of your village, and uh, 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 in circumstances where you don't have resources, you don't have any guidance, you have so many barriers in your life. But yeah, still, then you come out of that, and you get to know, like, what I experience is, education is the tool that transform individuals life, and that I can see that transformation and that change to make create your identity, to establish your existence in the society. So since we'll be talking about youth, I should mention a group of youth, like you also already mentioned ki how you have come into the in relevance to the constitution. So there was a group in my village, with whom I got connected during after my schooling, and which was working on social issues to bring some positive change in the society. I would like to share experience of event that we have organized once, which was on writing essay on dowry, which was for females, and what do they think about dowry, or whether they think it is good or whether they think it is bad. They have the like 250, around 250 female have participated in that, and they have come up with very vibrant experiences. Most of them were like against dowry. Yeah, it is a bad practice. They have mentioned the consequences on their own personal lives as well as on their parents. I remember one of that response which said ki, how the not paying the loan which was taken for her marriage have pushed to commit her father's suicide. So this was very heartbreaking to read that, and being with this group have helped me to create like to get an understanding of social issues like this, how it is impacting the lives of individual. Apart from this, we used to organize some talks, such as taboos on menstruation and other things which are there, like theater, how we can raise voice against the social issues, and we can use theater as a tool. So this was the group which inspired me, which helped me to build my understanding of such social issues, and also inspired me to work for social cause and for the betterment of society. Again, if I see like how education have transformed my perspective, I can see that in myself, and being independent today, and also in my family's perspective as well. uh, so I remember before few days, my mother called me and she said ki अभी तू 25 की हो गई है, तो लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हाँ, शादी करनी है, अभी 25 साल हो गई है, तो अब कितना रुकोगे, और अब तो नौकरी भी लग गई है. एंड देन शी सेड कि मैंने तो उनको बोल दिया कि हम उसको फोर्स नहीं करेंगे, वो उसको जब लगेगा तब करेगी, और तू तुम्हारे हिसाब से देख लेना, भले ही वो अपने कास्ट का ना हो, रिलीजन का ना हो, लेकिन थॉट्स मैच होने चाहिए. तो इन अ फैमिली वेयर इट वाज लाइक a decade ago, it was not allowed a girl should talk to boys, and she have a friendship with them, that my mother is using this statement, which is in itself shows the change, and how education can transform, and also change the perspective of yourself and also your family. Apart from this, when I go to village, many of my relative and people in my village come to me and they ask me for to guide their daughter and son how to like pursue higher education, so that कि वो तुम उनको गाइड करो ताकि वो अपने पैर पर खड़ी हो जाए. So they know the importance of how it is important to be independent, and how it is difficult when you are not independent, you are dependent on somebody else from for small things. You have no space to take your own decision and no right to interfere in something. So this is something that I can see how I got into the constitution, how I try to understood the values, and how education have transformed my lives, and now how it is helping others, and how I can see it in my family and also in my society. So this was a bit of my journey. I think I should stop here and give others to share their
Hmm.
own. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Komal. That's very interesting journey because you mentioned a lot of things that got changed, right, in your own life through education, and a lot of like even the right to education or many other rights that you mentioned about right to freedom of speech and expression, or right to find your own choice of partner, right? Right, those all those rights actually are very much coming from the constitution. So and it is really heartening to hear that how your family also transformed, right? And I think those are the biggest wins that we have, where culturally some of these things, especially for young people, parents want to make the decision. But once we as young people get ourselves aware of our rights, and then we also make our own families and society aware of these rights, then hopefully those changes can happen. And it's great to see it has happened in your own trajectory. Very nice to hear that. Now I'll request Nilansh to come in and again speak about his own personal journey. Nilansh is from the class of 2020, MA Development, and again has been working in this area. But let's first start with his own journey. Yeah, Nilansh.
Hello everyone. Currently, I'm doing a fellowship program of FIA Foundation, and I'm working with denotified tribes who are residing in the slums of Indore. But how I reached here, that's a journey that I would like to share with you. So I'll go back to my school days. In school, I guess the chapters on constitution or the on democracy was just a part of my curriculum. Like I never engaged. I was aware of these terms, but or the rights, but never engaged with them very consciously. They were just there, and I use. But later in my schooling days only, I got to like I was introduced to a subject, sociology, and here my parents played a very big role, because it's a time after 10th, like you decide which stream you have to choose. So they have always allowed me to go and choose whatever you want to do, but just put your 100% into that field, whatever. So that agency of choosing your own stream, choosing your own subjects, my parents allowed me to do that. So I chose a subject like humanities, and there I was introduced to a subject sociology, and from there I got to learn about caste, gender discrimination, and other inequalities that is existing in the society. And slowly I started to gain like interest, and I started reading about more about those complex issues, and and tried to understand ki how it affects people's life. But at that moment I never had a argument or any response to this incidents of injustices or the inequalities that is there. And then when I came for graduation, there was a course, I did a course on constitution and human rights. From there I started engaging with these rights, with the constitution more consciously. And I started to and it started to put things in perspective for me, as I started to realize that constitution or these items not just a document, but it's a foundation of whatever we do in our society. It's a base of everything that we are doing right now. But then also, like, after reading about these things of constitution, but then also I didn't have any tools or the instruments to work on these values or the constitution. Luckily, after my graduation, I started working with an organization, Muskan, a Bhopal-based organization. They work with children and youth of denotified tribes. So, denotified tribes are basically those tribes who were labeled as criminals by the British government, even though the act has been repealed after the independence, but the label of criminality still exists with them. And discrimination, violence, atrocities are part of their everyday lives. And since when I was working with them, I felt that there is more need to learn about the rights and how can we work on them. So Muskan has a very interesting way of engaging with the youth and the children on these constitutions. So they use ultimate frisbee as a medium. The frisbee is a game, which is in itself is based on democratic values and constitutional values. It's a mixed gender sport. It's non-contact. It's self-officiating. There is no referee, and it focuses on more on the spirit of the game, and there is no competitive thing in that game. So they use that medium to engage with the children and the youth. So from there I started to learn, I was part of their program of this program. So I started to learn, yeah, that this is the way we can take this forward and engage with these constitutional values. So then later I started doing this fellowship, and here also I'm using ultimate frisbee, cooperative games, and play as a medium to engage with these values with youth of denotified tribes in Indore. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Nilansh. We'll come back to actually the cooperative games that you're using, because that would be
Yeah,
really
sure.
nice to see how you have done it. Yeah, a little more like flesh and blood, nice stories. We will get to that. But yes, just what you mentioned about how civics is taught, for example, right? And it becomes just another subject. We hardly actually develop any connection with our constitution in that, right? And that is very sad, because actually constitution provides the base for what the aims of education should be, right? So ideally constitution should be very much at the center, and national education policy of 2020, as we know, has also discussed this, how aims of education are so central to developing curriculum, thinking about what will be textbooks, what will be the pedagogy, all of that. So yeah, that is, I think, one of the unfortunate things, and that's one of the reasons why youth, when young, like children, get into youth, they don't feel as much connection with the constitution, because the way it is introduced to them is not something that they feel connected to. It comes across as, oh, another kind of subject, and also not taught in a way that really makes you feel excited or motivated or feel like connected with it, right? Whereas it should be the opposite. Constitution should be at the center of our education system, because constitution is the document that actually governs everything that the state should be doing, and also the civil society, common citizens, even the market should be following constitutional provisions, constitutional spirit, right? That is something very, very important, but somehow has missed out. But I'm glad that you kind of read sociology and got into that, and of course, with good teachers, I'm sure you got interested in what the constitution has to say, and really yeah, promise us about what kind of society we are going to co-create together, right? So we also have Sushant from class of 2022 joining with us, and he has been also working on like dialogues on democracy initiative that a lot of our faculty and alumni students are involved in. But yes, we'll first like to know, Sushant, your own journey. How did you come to discover the constitution for yourself?
Hello, everyone. First of all, on the outset, thanks to the alumni group of Azim Premji University who are organizing this wonderful webinar. I really got very interested when I first got a call from alumni office that and I immediately said yes, I'm going to be part of it. Uh, so my coming close to constitution has been through a formal education. I was a political science student at Banaras Hindu University and got a lot of time to actually read humanities subject, sociology, constitution, all of that as part of my formal syllabus. So that is how. But again, I didn't feel that much connected to it. The way it was taught, for me, it was just about passing the exam. Remember the things. So maybe I just, I may just remember the definition of equality, but given a real life scenario, I may not notice the instances of inequality, right? So that is how it was just your the entire syllabus is mapped to certain amount of credit. So the goal was never to understand constitution deeply or engage with it, but get get those credits and just pass and move to the next avenue. But in that process also, you still develop some understanding and have a critical lens to things that are happening around you. So that lens was developed not entirely because of how the subjects were taught, but also with how other people were reacting to those instances. So once that critical lens was developed, what to do with that? So the easiest way I used to find was to go on social media and write about it. But the problem with that was that after a point you feel that is it making sense? Are people going to read it? Or even after reading, are they going to act on it, what I am saying? And today, if you see, a lot of people do this. If you are sad about something or happy about something, you just go and write on it. But is it really making any change? You want to see the change, but there is no way. With this same question, when I joined Azim Premji University in 2020, and again that was a very difficult time for all of us. It was a COVID time, and along with COVID, there was lot of things, lot of negativity, hate going around. And then I was doing my master's in education, and again my focus area was curriculum and pedagogy and CMD. So social studies was my focus area, and then these were my subjects. And then I met Anjor. Anjor is a faculty, by the way, in the university, and he was already teaching a group of students a course that had these elements: constitution, preamble, history of the constitution, making of the constitution, all of that. And he was also teaching us one of the course called political economy of education. So that is how I met Anjor, and he explained that he is working on something. And then I said, oh, how can I contribute in that? Because I do not find a way other than writing on social media, but I really want to do. I really want things to change. How is that going to happen? And then a lot of other faculties and students joined, and we started working on that, and we developed some kind of engagement. And this all of this came from our own experience, how civics was taught to us, how constitution was taught to us. And we thought that no, this is not how we are going to take it to people. We will make it more experiential. So we brought in some elements of experiential learning into it, so that when people are participating, they should experience it, they should feel it, and they should be able to apply it, right? So this is how I got into it. And then we formed a collective called Dialogues on Democracy and Development. And it has been 2 years since we formed this collective. And we have been to government institutions, religious institutions, civil society organizations, and we have had dialogue, keeping constitution in the center and bringing in real life examples or scenarios, and having a dialogue with them. So the way we work is that we have made dialogue as our tool to discuss constitution. And how this serves us as that the moment you suggest having a dialogue on the constitution, you position yourself not as an authority over the knowledge of constitution, but as a person willing to derive collective meanings and values from it. So dialogue promotes inclusivity and creates space for diverse views. And this has really worked for us. People with diverse views come and they feel that okay, their views are also heard, and then we try to course correct it, right? So if this, and also if this is how constitution was created, right, people having diverse views coming together, discussing it, and then making the constitution, so why not we use the same approach to discuss the constitution? So yeah, this is what we do present at the school.
Yeah, thank you, Sushant. Yeah, both the way you kind of took it from just being a subject in your curriculum to actually kind of getting interested. But I think the bigger shift that you made was writing about it on social media to then thinking, okay, I need to do something more on it. And yeah, that's quite inspiring actually. Yeah, I would maybe continue on what you said, Sushant, about the dialogue, right? So now we are getting into a phase where we are really going into the nitty-gritties of how actually we are all working with youth and how what kind of tools we are using, right? So that is something which is very, again, very practical. A lot of you who are also doing this work, please share your own experiences in the chat box as well. We will try and get these specific kind of strategies, tools that our three alumni here in the webinar are using. So let me go back to Sushant and continue on the dialogue. Like, how do you create that dialogue? Give us some examples. Also, you were telling a very interesting story about the school where you are also working in, right? So maybe, yeah, you can share that.
Yeah, so when I was in university only, we have a internship component attached to our course, and I was teaching. I was a teacher intern actually at a low-fee private school in Ranchi, and I was teaching social and political life, textbook, civics textbook, basically by NCRT. So, and I was teaching sixth grade students. Everything was going fine. Internship was going good. I had my lesson plans made and I was going according to the plan. Nothing, no difficulty in that. This for the students, it was a bit new because I added a lot of activities into it. So obviously some classes would get delayed and they were not used to that pedagogy. Right? Uh, One fine day, a group of students had fight while playing during lunchtime, and I had to take class after lunch. So when I went after lunch, a group of students came, showed me a notebook, and said that, see, these people have written a religious slogan on my notebook, and I will not say the slogan, but a religious slogan was written on the first page of the notebook. And I had no clue how to deal with it. What should I do? Again, I thought maybe this incidents might have happened previously also in the school, and I should take it to the principal or other teachers and ask, what do you do in such situation? I went to one or two teachers. They had no clue. They told, go talk to the principal. I went to the principal and he said that just tear the page and the matter is over. Okay. I said, sir, if I tear the first page, they are going to write it on the second page unless we don't tell them why it is wrong to write the religious slogan in the first page. So he said that, see, if if you make a issue out of it, this the reputation of the school will go down. People will come to know. This will get reported in media. He had his own concerns, right? That you cannot just discard, right? You will also have to listen what are his concerns, and that is step one of starting dialogue, knowing why this person is saying these things, why this person is not agreeing to what I am saying. And this is how we started. He had his own concerns. Then I said that, see, and he also suggested that, see, within few days your internship is going to get over, so you just finish it, ignore this, these things keep happening, ignore this and move ahead. And I said, no, this I don't want to brush it under the carpet and just walk on it. So I took this. I again thought, okay, sir, can I please organize a small parents teacher meeting and talk to the parents of these children and try to understand what media they are consuming, what movies they are watching, where this is coming in, what kind of society they are living in, what kind of discussions they have at home, everything, and then get to know. So we had a PTM where parents came. We told some of the parents at the very first site were not even ready to accept that it was a mistake. They said, "मारा तो नहीं ना, पीटा तो नहीं, सर तो नहीं फोड़ा, तो दिक्कत क्या है? लिख दिया तो ठीक है, उसको मिटा देंगे, हम दूसरा नोटबुक लाके दे देंगे." So these were some of the suggestions to solve the issue, but again we tried to break it down that why this is a problem, right? And through dialogue only, through discussions only, we got to know that there was a student whose father used to watch a lot of TV news, and on some TV news only, the this student, this child heard a spokesperson shouting a religious slogan to shut the other panelist. So from there, he got this idea that if you shout some religious slogan to shut other people, that might hurt their sentiments. And this is what he was exactly trying to do when he had a fight with the group of students. So the moral of the story again is that you need to know. If I just punish them and tell them no, this is not the right way, they are not going to. I need to dig deep, understand the reason why, what is motivating their actions, where they are coming from, all of that, and then maybe try to solve the problem one by one. Else what I will just be doing is treating the symptoms but not the main cause. So yeah, this is how we use dialogue. We bring people in our workshops, whatever views they have. And one view that we recently got in a workshop was one of the participants saying that we asked that why do men have more freedom to go outside than women, and this person said that because men work harder than women. And we continued the discussion, we had the dialogue, we heard, and his definition of work was not very clear. For him, only hard work, working outside the home was hard work, and working inside the home, making food was not work. So you have to engage in a dialogue to see whether the person doesn't have those constitutional values, those values, or some of their definitions are flawed. So this is how dialogue helps us, and we use it as a tool. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sushant. Actually, that brings us to a very important point about the perspective that youth have, right? And where are they heard? Children also, right? As in, if we just shut them down, whether through punishing or saying something is right or wrong, it doesn't really help them express, right? Express what they are feeling. They may have got it from somewhere, but even if we want to take constitutional values forward, it's not that we can just beat it down someone, right? It has to be something that they come to value from their own, right? So what you are saying through dialogue, to just allow everything to come out, not brush it under the carpet, or not punish it, or not say, oh, this is so wrong, how can you even say something like this, right? Or label that person as, oh, this is such a either communal, casteist, sexist person, right? So really kind of taking that time and effort to bring out. And young people may have some notions which, yeah, like you said, if they are able to express, if they are able to have that safe space to discuss, debate, and engage with it, I'm sure that what your work is, right, to slowly take them towards, like, inspire them towards constitutional values rather than trying to shove it down their throat, right, which doesn't work. So yeah, dialogue is something which is really exciting and important, I guess, to do this. I'm glad the kind of work you're doing. And Nilansh had earlier mentioned about using frisbee and other cooperative sports and games, using play to bring some kind of excitement around this, right? So that also seems a very interesting strategy tool. Nilansh, would you like to say more about that?
Sure. So before starting and getting to know more about my work, So I will start with the constitutional morality. Like Harsh Mandar has talked about it and says that there are four pillars of constitutional morality, that is justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. And he says that the among all these, fraternity is the least understood and the least talked about. And even Ambedkar has also mentioned that if we want to achieve equality and liberty in its true sense, we have to make sure that fraternity is maintained. If the fraternity is not maintained, then we, in its true spirit, we won't be able to achieve equality and liberty. And in today's time, we are hearing a lot of incidents of hate crime and lot of incidents of inequalities that is going on. So somewhere that notion, the practice of fraternity or the feeling of fraternity is getting, we are forgetting that, and in our especially in our public and social life. So to understand the whole notions around the constitutional values, especially around fraternity, I think there are three main principles or the ideals of fraternity. That is sympathy. Then there is standing up against the injustices or the raising voice against injustices and inequalities. And thirdly is the collective caring, the feeling of collective caring, that we are coming together and caring for someone. And I think in today's time we are losing on that a lot. Like the lack of resources or lack of opportunity for someone. It's not just that we don't have the resources, it's just the unequal distribution. So that the caring part is losing, we are losing out on. And even one of the sociologists, Emile Durkheim, has talked about social solidarity, that feeling of being a part of the whole. So he has talked about two types of solidarity, like mechanical solidarity in the pre-modern world, where there was less division of labor, because as they have the same kind of values, same experiences, so the collective consciousness was more. They were more like together. In the modern society, there is organic solidarity, which is their division of labor is more specialized. Everyone has their specific kind of work, and they are more they have different kind of experiences, different values. So what brings them together, what unites them? It's the interdependence, the cohesion of social unity in this modern time. But if I share a story of Assam, where interdependence got disrupted due to the ethnic conflicts between the two communities, Adivasi and Bodos, who were living together. So, as they were dependent on each other for their livelihood, but due to the ethnic conflicts and violent clashes, their interdependence got lost, and their system, the working system, just got disrupted. So there's an organization, Ant, uh, and they initiated a program of frisbee in 2014 or 15 in a Chirang district. And in today's time, they the frisbee, the game, allowed to people to come together and start playing. As I've mentioned before, that it's the frisbee, the game provides a democratic space. So people started coming together from different ethnic communities. They started playing together, started having fun together, and and as they provides a democratic space, so it's their interpersonal relationship starts to got better. And in today's time, there are around 4,000 children who are playing frisbee there and also representing somewhere and all. Now I'll share my own experiences of using this tool and other cooperative games, and how I have seen this uh, working in the field. So when I initially started working with this tool of frisbee in Indore, I started visiting communities of Parthi community, which is a denotified tribe, and I observed that there is a lot of violent clashes, and within the community there is a lot of internal conflicts happening. So initially I asked a boy around 17-year-old, he let's come and sit together. We'll sit in a group and we'll discuss and how the lives are, what are the difficulties that you guys are facing. And so he said, भैया मैं उस गली में नहीं जाऊंगा, like I won't go to that lane, because वहां जाऊंगा तो लड़ाई बन जाती है, because if I go there, so like it will lead into fight and my parents won't allow this. मेरे parents मुझे वहां जाने से मना करते हैं. So there was a clear tension between the people of the same community over there. Then I chose a common ground where they can come together and we can do some activities and all. So I started playing frisbee with 2 3 children, and then other also came and joined us. And because it was new to them. It was something new. It was not a usual sport. It's played with a it is played with a disc basically. So it was, and everyone got very much intrigued to know more about it, what is happening over there. So say everyone started to come and we started playing. So there was no age bar. Even parents were there, even children were there, youth were there, and everyone was playing and enjoying. Slowly it became a practice ki, हाँ, I go there, we play, we enjoy, and sit together and talk about things. And then slowly I started realizing that girls are not being a very big part of that meeting or that the play that we are doing. So I asked everyone that what we can do about it. So उन्होंने कहा भैया वो तो यार घर का काम करती हैं तो उनको टाइम नहीं मिलता. तो मैंने कहा तो ऐसे तो नहीं चलेगा, like we have to do something about it. So they said that uh, let's set a time, let's have a meeting with them and then decide ki what time we should play this. मैंने कहा okay, that's fine, we can do that. Then we had a meeting in the community and then they all decide that this time will be with the time where they will keep a time for playing. So okay, then we started playing and then slowly in the game, uh, girls used to feel bad or angered that they don't get the disc to play because boys are playing within themselves because they trust themselves, they have better coordination and all. So I said that this is not working because we have to make a new rule or we have to change something in this. So I asked that until and unless everyone in the group or in the team will not get the disc, you can't score it. So then they started passing everyone, then they started involving everyone. So then the feeling of yes, that they all are a part of a group started to build around it. As I mentioned that in frisbee there is a big part of frisbee spirit circle, so where everyone sits together and they share their experiences, what they felt during the game and how they were doing it. So in one of the spirit circles only, I asked anyone who felt bad or angered while playing, so please share. And in spirit circles also I use one thing, that is talking piece. So whenever who has the talking piece will talk and other will listen to them. So that also creates a space where they have the habit of listening to the others, and if someone is sharing their experiences, so you have to listen and then respond to it by taking, so that the proper dialogue can be created. So in one of the spirit circle, I asked what makes you feel angry, generally or also in the during the game. So they said कि भैया जब भी कोई गाली देता है ना तो बहुत गुस्सा आता है, तो फिर मारने का मन करता है और उसी वजह से लड़ाई भी बनती है. तो when anyone uses abusive language उस वजह से and then it leads into fight. तो मैंने कहा then let's work on it. Then how can we uh, make some rule or something? So the group came up with the solution and they set a rule that if anyone uses an abusive language, then that person won't play in that drill, in that game, and then they can rejoin us afterwards. So that thinking of having affirming the respect of the other person, and the self-respect, and also this creating a safe space where everyone feel good about yourself, also about the other person, started to build. So that's one thing, because frisbee providing you the sports, and also there is no referee in the game. So whenever there is a conflict or there is a foul, so they have to talk to each other. So they have to talk, they have to resolve it on by or and asking the other members of the who are playing the game. So they have to resolve by their own. So that improved their interpersonal relations. And I have been doing this in Indore for the last 1 year or so. So I have seen that their interpersonal relationships getting better. They are getting more sensitive to each other. They are cordial. They are more cordial. I would not say that they are best of the friends, but they are now more cordial to each other. And when I was working with Muskan, over there, I would share a small story. So I asked a boy, we were sitting, मैंने कहा, how your life has changed like while playing this game. So he said, भैया पहले मुझे ना बहुत शर्म आती थी लड़कियों के सामने बैठने में या बात करने में. Like I used to feel very shy talking to, very much hesitant to talk to them. But now I feel more comfortable, and now I feel I have very good friends. Like I have a very good friendship with them. And more other than the friendship, he said that I'm getting more sensitized to their issues as well, because when they share in the spirit circles that they're facing such issues, that they have to go to work, and then on their menstrual cycles they can't play, or there are other practices that are there in the community that they have to follow at the practices. So he started becoming more sensitized towards those issues. And once they wanted to go to Surat for a tournament to play there. So one of the girls' parents were not allowing her to go. So as a group, they went to her place and talked to the parents, that and convinced them that please let her go. It will be a great opportunity to set the feeling that yes, she belongs to our group, and the feeling of belongingness is has created through this frisbee. And when this belongingness gets created, it's not like things will change, but it's just that it's a group has been created. There is a collective feeling that there is there, and then you can unknowingly they have started inculcating those values within themselves, and then it becomes easier for them to introduce to the language of the constitution around them, and that gives them more clarity around it. So yeah, this is how this is this, and yeah, if anything else, I'll share it.
Yeah, thank you, Nilansh. Yeah, very interestingly, you started with this missed out thing on fraternity, right? Because fraternity, in some ways, doesn't come under fundamental rights or DPSP, but comes under fundamental duties, right? And of course, is there as a central value in the preamble. So it's, I think, very important to think about fraternity. But again, how do you work on it? It's not something very direct, right? So yeah, very interesting to see how you and yeah, the organization as well has thought, okay, if we just introduce a game that is mixed gender, that is really kind of having this values at the center, right? That everyone should equally participate, everyone should be able to express themselves in the spirit circle, talk about things that are not going well, and then of course creating a space where you meet the other in that sense, right? Whether it is in terms of gender or caste communities, more shared spaces, right? That is one thing that we see happening less and less, right? That we are finding less and less shared spaces. So yeah, I think these kind of cooperative games can really create a nice shared space, not a competitive one, but really a collaborative shared space where you also give a value to like communication, dialogue, listening. I really like the talking piece. No, that's what you were saying, Ilansh. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think that that can be used in other dialogical circles. It has been used
exactly.
very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So basically, cooperative
mm,
games in here, that there's no feeling of competitiveness. No, so that creates a
mm,
space where the everyone is winning. So that's a also
mm,
creates a feeling of like we are a part of the whole. So competition might lead to conflicts and all, but the feeling of everyone is part of, and we are winning. That cooperative games allows that feeling to nourish.
yeah, yeah, and just the chance to see and know the other in flesh and blood and all their uniqueness, all their, you can say, differences as well, and to appreciate those differences, to be able to be sensitive to them, right? And yeah, in some ways, that is what fraternity is about, right? Like really valuing each other's existence and finding them equally important for the growth of our society and our country, rather than thinking that, oh, this group of people, they are not really useful, they might as well not be there, right? As in that kind of feeling of completely yeah, ignoring or not really wanting each other, right? So yeah, how do we create that space where we really find spaces to be sensitive and value each other's yeah, existence and role and differences, value differences. Right. So I will now request Komal to also share her own experiences on how she has gone about working on this, bringing constitutional values bringing them alive to the youth and making them excited and engaged. Yeah, Komal, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Asim. So, before sharing my work on this, I would like to start by responding a question, which is why it is important to connect youth with the constitution with today's era. So, one thing is, it is said that, and we also hear that youth are the future of this country, and in fact, they are more in population as compared to other age groups. And the third thing which I feel and I have experienced as well is that youth are very energetic. They have like potential to do. If they have decided something, they will put all the efforts to achieve that. And just to like I would like to share an example on this. Before like few months ago, so since I am from Maharashtra, we celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi with बहुत धूमधाम से we celebrate it. So I was at home that time, and there is a group of youth who organize this event in a village. Like in a community, we have one badi se ek murti of Ganesh ji, and we like celebrate it. So at the last day, they used to, for the last day celebration, they used to collect money, जिसको हम चंदा कहते हैं, चंदा इकट्ठा करते हैं. So they collected money from each family, and the amount that they have collected was around 50 to 55,000. So which is for me and for the people who stay there, it is a big amount, because most of the people who stay there are daily wage laborers and peasants who have small piece of land. So they have collected this amount, which itself shows ki how much trust that community have on a youth, that they are giving them the money, and also power of youth and the hold that they have in the society. So but the point that I want to make here is, how did they use this money, and how they could have used this money. So how did they use it? They spent around 35K on DJ sound and light for the last day celebration. And from my perspective, it is wasting money on this, because since the community, I have already mentioned, they are all farmers and daily wage laborers, and there is a school. How they could have used this money? They could have used it for some constructive work. For example, school, primary school does not have toilets at all, and the middle school have toilets with only four walls, without any water facility, and which is very unhygienic. Being educationist, I see things from this perspective, so I can see the gaps which were there, and they could have used this amount for doing something for the betterment. And also, after 10th, the student from this village go to the nearest town block for the higher studies, and which is, and for that they have to go 1.5 kilometer pedal, because bus doesn't come to our village. So due to this, many of the girls have to get drop out, because the a few of them had bad experience with it, and related to safety and all. The road is not good in condition, it does not have street light and all. So they could have used this money for this some constructive work like this. So what constitution talk about, like how, why it is important to connect youth with the constitution, and what they can do to to make it realistic, what is conceptualized in the constitution, what the society the society's conceptualization in the constitution, where each person will live with peace, will live life with dignity and respect, regardless of their caste, religion, gender, and all these things. So even if I talk about now also, so people will respect you. Some of the like when we go to the field, they ask us, generally they ask us ki, अच्छा आपका नाम क्या है. तो व्हेन यू टेल योर नेम, दे आर लाइक, अरे आगे क्या लिखते हो, मतलब पूरा नाम क्या है. एंड इवन इफ व्हेन यू टेल योर सरनेम, दे आर लाइक, अच्छा ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा, आप कौन से जाति से हो. तो that means कि they are more interested in knowing your like caste and religion, and according to that only they'll treat you. अगर आप अपर कास्ट से हो तो हाँ आपको चेयर ऑफर किया जाएगा, आपको चाय पानी ऑफर किया जाएगा, और अगर नहीं फिट बैठते हो उसमें तो फिर आपसे वो बात भी नहीं करेंगे. सो दिस इज नॉट व्हाट हाउ सोसाइटी शुड बी, है ना. But what society, what constitution is talking about society, that every human should treat with dignity, with respect, and he or she should be valued. So how this group can help to make such society, and how education institute and other government, non-government institute, and some groups, and maybe we as an at individual level, how we can bring this group of youth in a right direction before it get manipulated by some other groups who are like taking them into the wrong direction. Also this group also say that yeah, हमारा देश महान, भारत माता की जय and all, but again the point comes to the this thing, that do they really know what nation is, and what is our responsibility for the better nation, and what is that one should do for the better nation. So we as an organization, we started working on constitutional values with youth since 1 year, past 1 year. Um, so we are engaging youths using different modes. For example, initially we use discussion and dialogue as a mode for having dialogues on the constitutional values. And our objective was to bring their attention to the social issues and discriminatory practices which are there in the society based on religion, caste, and gender. So initially what we used to do is screen a movie or a short film and have a dialogue, have a discussion on it. So they used to come up with their own experiences, they used to relate it with their own lives, ki how these things are still there in the society, and we are also somehow part of it, and what could be the possible solution to address all these issues and do something better. So this was the mode which was also one of the effective mode. And later, once what we did is we have a team in Jaipur, theater team in Jaipur, and they have organized their performed their play in every each district institute, which was its name was Hum Bharat Ke Log, which was around social issues which are there. So our participant for this play were our youth group who were engaged with us, and a school where we have organized it in Khargon. So I remember that one of the scene in that play was a girl go for the higher studies, and when she travels from the bus, few of the group of youths come and try to molest her. So this happened once, this happens twice, and again this happens thrice. So some, like, she gets scared of it when the its intensity is at high. So when she shared this with her parents, her initially she doesn't share it with her father, and she share it with mother, and when father asked about it, then he is like okay, तो नहीं जाना है ना, मतलब अगर है दिक्कत है तो फिर ठीक है, नहीं करते हैं. तो the group of participants who were there, their thoughts on this were like they were able to connect it कि या ये अभी भी होता है, ये हमारे साथ भी होता है, हम भी इसको एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं. और यहाँ पे जो हो रहा है, लाइक फादर इज सेइंग दिस जनरली हैपेंस कि अगर लड़की के साथ रॉन्ग है, लड़की के साथ कुछ गलत हुआ है, तो एक तो उसने ऐसे कपड़े क्यों पहने, या फिर इस टाइम पे वो बाहर क्यों गई, या फिर और कुछ, है ना, क्यों 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 पढ़ाना है, इतना क्यों पढ़ाना है, ऑल. तो इसका जो पनिशमेंट है वो लड़की को मिलता है, ऑल्दो यहाँ पे जो करने वाला है वो गलत है और उसको पनिशमेंट मिलना चाहिए जो भी है. तो the girl from 7th standard, she said that कि यहाँ पे उस लड़की की कोई गलती नहीं है, अगर गलती है तो जिन्होंने ये किया है उनकी गलती है, and they should get punished for it. So such kind of like how theater is helping. Okay, my laptop is going to discharge. Can I just take a moment to put it on
Yes,
charge?
please. Yeah, Komal, do that. I will just add to how theater can be used. Actually, I do it myself quite a bit. So, yeah, one thing about theater is, of course, that it really helps bring out a lot of stories of young people where they may not get a space to actually express. So, I kind of draw upon this form by Augusto Boal, TO, and in that there are different forms, image theater. There are a lot of theater games in that to build trust, to build, you can say, engage with the question of power, and then also be able to tell your own stories. So this format of forum theater is something I'm sure many of you might have heard of. And what it does is it allows, first of all, a group of young people to be able to say, okay, these are the stories that we want to say. So let's pick one story and we will act it out. And in that story, there will be, like Komal was saying, there will be some kind of a challenge that they might have faced as a young person. Either it is about their choice of who they want to marry, or their choice of career, or like um, aspects of safety. So they will perform this small skit, and then, but in forum theater, the point is not that the audience just watches it. The audience are also spectators. So what happens is, once the play is done, the, you can say, the person who's facilitating, which is called the joker in this format, he will or she will tell that, okay, this is the play. Now you can actually come into the play and change it wherever you think a situation can be changed, right? So we are depicting a kind of a social challenge, a social issue, maybe about gender, maybe about fraternity, maybe about equality, liberty, one of the constitutional values getting violated, right? And then um, you can actually come into the play. So you can tap out one actor and you can become one actor in the play, and then try something different and see if that is able to address the issue, right? So forum theater not only allows young people to express their stories, but also to change those stories and try out different options. And so it's more like a rehearsal for real life, right? So you try out different things and see how it works, what is working, what is not. And that can also sometimes give you a lot of ideas. But more than just the play part of it, the discussion that happens afterwards, right? So most of the times, like when we work with young people, they may not be aware of constitutional values, they may not be really concerned about it. But when you are able to say, okay, you are facing this issue, and this issue is primarily about you are facing lack of equality, or you are facing discrimination, or you are facing lack of freedom of choice or expression, or you are facing some kind of fraternity problem, right? Or you are facing lack of education, lack of employment, lack of healthcare, right? So once you see the issue that the young people themselves are talking about, you can actually pinpoint that these problems are addressed in the constitution. If you are talking about protection from discrimination, there is Article 15 and 16, so you can go to it. If you're talking about right to employment, it's there in our directive principles of state policy. So the more we connect that constitutional provisions are actually very, very relevant and directly can help in addressing young people's problems, the more they get kind of inspired by it, the more they get interested to see it. Because till now, they have never really thought that anybody can help them. It's more like, okay, now you have to figure out everything on your own, right? And as young people, there's a lot of pressure of employment, there's a lot of pressure of career, a lot of pressure of family, everything, right? That you have to really figure out your life, find your career, settle in, maybe get married, have kids. So all of these pressures, who is going to support you through this, right? And the more they find that constitution is that place where they can go back to for finding that support, for finding that, oh, if I am finding lack of employment, but there is a directive principle of state policy, there is of course narega, but this, it is written that it is state government, it is the government's responsibility to think about employment. It is the responsibility of market and economy to create more employment opportunities. If they are not doing it, then according to the constitution, they are not doing their job. So I can try and make them accountable for it, right? And then, of course, what are the provisions to make them accountable? All of that then comes after it, right? So I think this way of connecting what youth's aspirations are, what their challenges are, what they are really wanting, and how the constitution is actually very relevant in most of the times to support them in one or the other way. Sometimes it can directly support them very, very, like if there is direct violation of fundamental rights, of course, there is a direct support. But even if there is something in the directive principles of state policy or fundamental duties, it can still be brought in through that. So I think that was one of the questions that was we were repeatedly getting, that, oh, youth may be detached from constitution and democracy. What is the reason for that? How can we make them more engaged? So I think all the examples that we have heard from Sushant on dialogue, from Nilansh on cooperative games, from Komal again on theatre, I think that all can be very, very helpful in thinking about how to connect young people's lives, their challenges, their aspirations, with how the constitution can help them. We are also going to take some questions about from the chat box actually. So let me just pick up one question from Suresh, who had asked everyone, how do you, can you think of an example about fraternity, right? Of how, yeah, how do you bring foster fraternity among youth? If you can just think of one small example, each of you, that would be really nice to share. Yeah, anyone can go ahead. Sushant, if you have something to add to this question.
I think Nilansh has already shared a wonderful example of playing frisbee, but the kind of workshop that we do not doesn't allow us to have that space to play some game. So usually what we do is we have a very interesting story called Jai and Viru in our module. So and the Jai and Viru story is basically the story of two societies where these two individuals live, and there is one society where when wherever Jai wants to go, Jai can go. Jai can marry whoever he wants to marry. Uh, there is no restrictions as such. So a kind of a liberal democratic society, and then there is a Viruka society that has all the limitations and a lot of confinement on liberties, personal liberties. There is no equality in that society, all of that. And a very simple exercise, and we ask participants that if you get an opportunity, which society would you pick for yourself, right? And why that? Why do you want to be part of that society? And then we make them reflect, ki, what kind of society do you live in? So some of them will say कि oh, this is the kind of society we live in. हमारा तो जय जैसा society है, कुछ कहेंगे कि नहीं हमारा वीरू जैसा society है. And we actually have examples. So most of the time when we give this story, people assume that we are only going to get examples of non-fraternal society. But surprisingly, a lot of times we get participants who bring examples of societies that is way more fraternal, right? And that is when we ask them that how do you think your society is so fraternal? What are some of the reasons? Could you tell people how it happens, why it happens? So I mean, activity based, where you make people reflect and take ideas, understand different societies, and if some society is non-fraternal, why is that happening, so that you can go back to the society and then try to address few of it. Yeah, so that is how we do a small exercise on fraternity. If anyone else has any point, can share on this.
Yeah, thank you,
Like,
Sushant. Nilansh, go ahead.
like I talked about, I already talked about frisbee as a sport where we can foster fraternity, but there are other cooperative games as well. I would like to share one of them. So we play one game where everyone stands in a circle, and then there is one person in the middle of the circle, and then there is one person outside the circle. We call it as a Bakri and Sher game. Like we call it with the name of Bakri and Sher. So the game is all about that the tiger or the lion has to catch uh, the bakri that is there in the that goat in the within the, which is there in the circle, and everyone has to stop him doing that. If the lion gets into the circle, then the goat has to go out. So it's a game where everyone has to protect the goat. So that is a game where you can have a feeling of collective caring, that we have to care about that, to protect that the person, that the goat that is there inside. And then you can have discussions around that, like if anything happens in the community, within the community, then how can you, have you ever came together to do that? Or if things happens, then what you can guys, if anything happens, then what all we can do about it. So then you can lead to the discussions after that, a small activity or a small game. So there are a lot of such cooperative games with we can build discussions around.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Nilansh. This sounds very interesting. Yeah, many times it's all about creating that space for discussions to emerge, right? And either small games or through examples, like Sushant was saying, of a story, or like I was saying about theater, Komal was mentioning about theater. Those are just kind of starting points, right? That you kind of allow that space to let stories come in, let different kind of experiences come in, and then you kind of build on it and see actually that these are all very much connected with the constitutional framework and constitutional values and the spirit and the provisions. Yeah. Komal, do you want to add anything? You got
Yeah,
disconnected earlier because of the charger. Hmm.
yeah. So that time I had few things left to say, but you moved on later. Okay, I'll complete it now. So yeah, the question which is there in the chat box on fraternity, I can see it throughout our engagements as well. As I mentioned about theater, so after this theater, the group which is engaged with us, they have organized their, like they have prepared their own play on the occasion of Premchand Jayanti birth anniversary on a story of Jumman Shade. So they themselves prepared it very nicely and they perform it, and they came up with the need that, so when we are working on constitution, it is also important to like to know what are their needs, what do they want, you know, when they are engaged with us. So they have come up with their needs, that they want to learn this theater professionally, some professional knowledge and skills of theater they want to gain. So considering this need, we have organized on 2nd of January 5 days of residential theater workshop for the youth. And throughout the whole workshop, I could see the various example of fraternity when they are coming together, they are playing together, they are having discussion together. And also, like many of their parents have come like to drop them, because for most of them it was the first time their children are going out and staying with strangers, and to whom they don't know much, and with the organization also, they are not much aware about how it works and how it is. So here, like they have I could see various example of fraternity also. Recently I was talking to a girl over the call who was participant of this workshop, and she shared me that this was really really helpful to bring her attention to the issues, even issues she's facing every day, and still she's not aware about it, this is issue, this is something issue, and शी इज लाइक ओके, ये तो होता ही है, लाइक हाउ वी वर आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ मेनी प्रैक्टिसेस. सो शी शेयर्ड मी दैट कि आज रामलला का जो हो रहा है 22 को, जो प्राण प्रतिष्ठा जो हो रही है, उसी के सिलसिले में हमारे गांव में एक भंडारा जो था वो उसको ऑर्गेनाइज किया था खाना. तो जो एक ट्राइब है वहां पे उनके गांव में, they were not allowed to come and eat inside the temple. Okay, they were allowed to eat outside. तो शी लाइक दीदी मैंने बोल दिया जब मुझे ये उन्होंने ये किया, और ये होता भी है, लेकिन दिस वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम कि मैंने बोला उनको कि क्यों आप उनके साथ ऐसा ट्रीटमेंट क्यों कर रहे हैं, वो भी तो एक इंसान ही है ना. अगर कोई अच्छे कपड़े पहन के आ जाता है तो आप या फिर कोई अपर कास्ट से है या और कुछ तो अच्छे स्टेटस से, तो आप उनको अंदर ले लेंगे, और just because of they belongs to particular community, you are not allowing them to enter in the temple and giving them खाना. तो शी वॉज लाइक मम्मी ने फिर मुझे डांटा भी, लेकिन ये कहने के बाद कहीं ना कहीं जो है उनको पता नहीं क्या लगा, जो इसको डिनाई कर रहे थे कि नहीं इनको अंदर खाना नहीं देंगे, और उन्होंने उनको बुलाया, लाइक अंदर बिठा के खाना खिलाया. एंड शी वाज लाइक दिस इज समथिंग आई फील लाइक अचीवमेंट, है ना. मैंने पहली बार ऐसा बोला और मेरी बात को सुना गया, और सुनने के बाद जो है उसके ऊपर किसी ने एक्शन भी लिया और कुछ बदलाव मैं देख पा रही हूँ. दिस इज वेरी वेरी सेटिस्फैक्ट्री. Even during this whole 5-day workshop, when they perform this play, they perform it in a village. So I was like glad to see that nobody resist it, because most of the time what happened with us, we have certain experiences when people don't allow us to talk on religion, है ना. They are not ready to talk about it because they think no, it is okay. Yeah, there is a hierarchy and there are certain religion which are on the top and which are on the bottom. So but in this village, the participant who were there in for the play, they have like watched from beginning to the end, and they have also expressed their own views on it. Yeah, this is still something which happens in the society, and we should change this through various efforts. So how like this is going, if you see the effect of it, so they got invitation from other school and college and also one of the village कि आप हमारे यहाँ पे आके भी ये वाला जो प्ले है ये परफॉर्म करो. तो ये जो हम देख पा रहे हैं कि किस तरह से हम जो अवेयरनेस की बात कर रहे हैं कि थ्रू सच एंगेजमेंट, थ्रू सच टूल लाइक अ थिएटर which is not just for mere entertainment, as you already mentioned that it is a tool to talk about various social issues which can be like which can help to do advocacy and to represent the marginalized group as well. So they are performing, they might be performing it in the different places. So we can see how like it is going from one place to other place, and people are people are accepting it. So this is how like I can see its effect to an extent at small level. And yeah, when you talk about it, I think this takes time, because changing somebody's perspective and also then changing its practice, which is he or she has been practicing since maybe past 15-20 years, it definitely takes time, but yeah, it is happening.
Yeah. Thank you, Komal, so much. Very interesting examples and stories you mentioned about how this girl could question and start making people think about it, right? Otherwise, it's like, okay, this is how things are. We have also accepted previous generation. But the young person, that's the thing with youth, right? They are not just satisfied so easily with the saying this is how things are, right? People are questioning, people are thinking about it. And there is also a lot of this kind of thinking and reflection is happening, but the space is not provided. So I think when you mentioned that this play got so popular that other people in other places are calling, I think that is also the power of arts, right? Theater, or whether it is sports, or many people do it through poetry. I was recently in a again a session where a very young girl came and spoke about something such patriarchal issues in the society, and in front of all the elders everyone was there, but it was not a speech, it was like a poetry, right? So they wanted to support their own community girl because she's writing a poetry and performing it, but the content was so, like, you can say feminist, or so much about equality of gender and challenging people who are telling them what to do, what not to do, right? So I think arts is a very, very powerful medium, because at one level it is entertaining as well, but at another level it can be very powerful to bring out something new. So we are getting a lot of interesting questions actually in the chat. Thank you so much for all the questions. And what we will do now quickly is just, each of us will pick up few questions and start responding to it, because I'm sure all of you would like also this kind of engagement. So that would be nice if anyone wants to pick up any question. We had also got some questions beforehand, so we can pick them up as well as the current questions. There is something on fundamental duties. The question, if you want, anyone wants to take up secularism as well. Um, Okay, let me just start with secularism. And earlier there was a question that had come on what is a majoritarian kind of approach doing to the youth, right? And yeah, that is definitely, we know, our concern. It's a kind of creating a kind of us versus them, rather than, okay, we are all together in this, right? Like the fraternity part. So yeah, secularism is something which um, is sometimes quite difficult to bring it, because it can also polarize people quite a bit. But again, if we use specific like stories, what I think Sushant was mentioning, just talking about, okay, let's imagine a, a secular community where there is a lot of support between different communities. They are all eating together, they are all sharing their lives together. There is a lot of to and fro between their houses. Everyone is going and creating that social environment, and a society where possibly there is clear segregation, that, okay, you can only talk to this people, you can only engage with this people. And then think of a medical emergency happens, right? Or some other kind of a situation happens, then how will you deal with that? So in that sense, I would say secularism and fraternity are quite deeply connected, though it's also important to talk about how the state should keep some kind of a principled distance from all, you can say, religions. It should not be favorable to one religion or the other. But it is something which, again, the more we kind of talk about fraternity, from there we can generate that how secularism is also such an important value, to keep a sense that the government is equally supportive and equally neutral towards everyone, and not taking anyone's side per se. Because for example, we approach judiciary in case of any conflict or problems, right? So there we want the judiciary to be seen as neutral, to be seen as taking no sides, but really doing justice to what the specific situation is, right? So yeah, I think again, using some stories and examples, fraternity and secularism can be further introduced to the youth, where in today's times it sometimes comes across as if secularism is a bad word, but of course it's very central to our constitution and preamble, and how the state should keep a principled distance and not be favorable or biased, prejudiced against anyone. Yeah. Yeah, let me just see if Komal, Sushant, or Nilansh would want to respond to any of the questions that have come in the chat or previously. Yeah, please go ahead, Sushant.
So one question that has come in the chat is how these ideas could be scaled, and this is how what we also discuss whenever we have our team meeting, the DOD's team meeting we also think that we have a very less time. So the scale and the urgency, both is large. The kind of population that we have, and we have a very less time. So how can these ideas be scaled? One of the ways that we are doing it is trying to make a narrative around constitutional literacy. So we know that an organization like Muskan, or like Dialogues on Democracy and Development, or School for Democracy, or Center for Social Justice, there are quite a few organizations that work in this space, can alone not turn the pages, right? So we definitely need to scale this up, and for that we will have to create a narrative around constitutional literacy, around the need of constitutional values. Also, one of the questions, and I will try to connect two questions and answer it, was that how do you see when the constitution, when the institutions that are legalized by the constitution itself are weakening the ethos of the democracy? How do you see this? In Then this also makes very important to see constitutional values, because the shape, size, the fundamental rights, or a lot of components of constitution in next 100 years might change, but what is going to stay is the values in it. So we should also see it from the point that the values that are there in the constitution are not just constitutional values. When we say it, constitutional values, we are just limiting it to a document. These values are basic human values that should be there all the time, even if we have a written constitution or do not have, that these values should be there. And when we are talking about scaling, we are basically talking about scaling these values. So we need not to have the constitution ka outreach, we need to have these values ka outreach, and that can be done through several other things. You don't just need constitution, you can do it through sports, you can do it through films, you can do it through theater. You don't even need to take constitution and go there, you can do it through all of this, and still we will have a better society. There are countries who do not have a written constitution, these values are not written somewhere, but still they are more fraternal than us. How is this happening? Because they believe in these values. So as long as we have these beliefs intact, these human beliefs, these human values intact, the constitution is going to be there, survive, right? So and this is how we are trying to scale it. We are trying to bring different elements of value education, and we are trying to put this thought into the institutions that we work with. And recently, two of the workshops that we did was with one of Social Audit Society Bihar, where we made a curriculum for all the social auditors, where we added a component on constitutional values in their curriculum. Similarly, we are doing it right now in Karnataka. So this is our idea of scaling it.
Yeah, just to add to actually Sushant's point, a lot of smaller initiative organizations are really keen on doing this work, right? So we also thought this webinar could be a starting point for us to collectivize on this, right? So we would really like, I'm sure a lot of you who are listening right now are yourself doing this work or are interested in this work. So please write to us. You can write to my email ID or any of the you can say the alumni that are here. So mine is asim.siddiqui@apu.edu.in. You can find that. And of course, alumni office email as well. Sushant, Komal, and Nilansh, if you can also quickly mention your email IDs just for everyone to get in touch. And then we will further work on this. As you know, this is not something that is just work for now. It is a long-term work that we would need to come together. So let's try and do that. Yeah, if you can quickly tell your email IDs and if any other questions you want to pick up.
My email ID is nilans85@gmail.com.
Okay, you can reach out to me at kumarsushant494@gmail.com. I will put that in the comment section also.
Komal, you're on mute. Can you please unmute yourself? You can share your personal or work email ID, whatever.
Okay,
Is
so my work email ID is komal.kakar@azimpremjifoundation.org.
Yeah. So yeah, please feel free to reach out to us. We would definitely like to hear from you. I know there are quite a lot of interesting questions for us to pick us up, but I am wondering if we have the time. Let me just check. Yeah, but otherwise, very interesting questions on non-human animals. How do we extend this beyond humans in that sense, right? And then, um, yeah, Akash asked, very interesting, while trying to further constitutional values, how do we consolidate these experiences to inculcate constitutional consciousness in a collectivized manner? As the issues, very interesting. To this platform, I would like to ask, does anyone know or have contact who is working on constitutional literacy in Bihar? Um yeah, Sushant, do you have any more thoughts
Yes,
on
I, I,
that?
I will I will reply to that comment. Yes.
Okay,
And
thanks.
like just that question on the collective consciousness,
Hmm.
the constitutional. So just a few thoughts on it. Not a like the constitutional consciousness that it has been laid out in the preamble. We know that there are values, that there are certain things, and but we need to think beyond that, and also like we have this consciousness, and we uh, practice these constitutional values as per our own convenience in fragments and all. But how can we define this how can we define how can we define this constitutional how can we define this constitutional consciousness? How can we define it? What are the parameters we can see these constitutional values? So I think this is the question that we should also get engaged with each other as well. That how can we what are the parameters on we can assess this constitutional consciousness that is being getting developed, but we practice in fragments and in as per our convenience. So there should be can we see it um, in terms of like the practice to show dissent or to stand up
Hmm.
for the unjust practices. So like I think that is some critical questions that also we should be also engaging with each other.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There was one question on fundamental duties as well. Of course, the question on duties actually start with rights itself. So, fundamental rights are not just for us individually, but also that we uphold the same rights for all other citizens. And that's what I think Nilansh was also mentioning, that when we see violation of rights, not only ours, but anyone else's, our fellow citizens' rights getting violated, then it's in some ways our duty to actually stand up and make sure that that doesn't happen, or promoting right to education, promoting healthcare, promoting employment, promoting housing, promoting social security. All of these social rights are equally important, and which are anyways part of our directive principles of state policy. But to actually put them into laws like right to food, right to employ, all of these things, right? So this is something also part of our duty. So when we talk about rights, duty actually go along with that. But of course, we have a whole section in the Constitution itself, as we know, Article 51, 52, right? Which has, I'm just checking it again, not to make an error on this. Yeah, 51A is fundamental duties, which again one can bring it up through through different kind of stories, and again through different kind of like, okay, what do you do in this situation, bringing out certain kind of examples, and then through that we can actually introduce the idea of duties, but goes very well with the rights question. um, Okay, I think we are running out of time and we may not be able to continue now. But as I said in the beginning as well, this is just a beginning for the entire alumni network, faculty, and all other members of the institution, Azim Premji Foundation, University, Philanthropy, to come together. A lot of us are working on this actually. So it would be good to kind of combine our energies and work on this together. So please write to us. You have all the email IDs in the, as you can see, right? And you can find them as well. So please make sure that you write to us and we will take this conversation forward. Thank you for all your comments and questions. Extremely insightful, and something that we need to work on this, think about this together, and find a way to engage youth on this more positively and constructively. So I will wrap up with that. Any final comments from our fellow panelists? Komal, Sushant, Nilansh, if you have anything last comments to say.
Really happy to see that people are interested and they want another version of this conversation. So yes, we'll keep it. We'll see where it goes, and yes, we'll surely try to come up with something that is even more better than this.
Yes.
I think this is. I think just as you mentioned, as Asim mentioned, that this is not. This is just the beginning. So we can use this platform and network to talk about and have more discussions like this. I think it will enrich our experiences and also way of working, and we can come up with something new as well. So I think
Yeah, and the same feeling here as well. I'm feeling we would have get more time because there are so many things to share, and also very interesting questions are coming from our alumni and who have joined. So yeah, it was good. We'll have more conversation on it maybe.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, on that note, we will sign off. Just wanted to thank the alumni team for hosting us and really coordinating such. Thank you, Ramya. Thank you, Rajgopal. This was really helpful for us to come together, talk about this. And all of you should also keep stay tuned for updates, because there will be a lot more webinars. This is one topic which we will continue in some form, but many more things will come. So please keep your connection alive, right? And let's learn, connect, and grow together. That's the motto for our alumni team. So we will sign off with that. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.